All right, welcome to the show. Today, our guest is Tim Davisdon. If you haven't seen him on TikTok or LinkedIn, he makes hilarious videos about the B2B marketing world. He's also the Senior Director of Marketing at Directive, a marketing agency in California. Tim, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, yeah, I'm excited. I just can't get over that hat. I'm definitely gonna have to buy one.
Yeah, this hat is a scrolling message hat, and it says B2B doesn't have to be boring, which is stolen from Tim's LinkedIn profile. It was one of the first things I saw from him, and I was like, oh, this guy is a guy I got to follow, because that's exactly our take at Incentive Pilot. It's the only reason we're seeing success at Incentive Pilot is we put a stake in the ground and said, hey, let's make this boring stuff a little less boring. So, Tim, I love that we're kindred spirits in that to that effect. What kind of made you compelled to share that with the world?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And it's not to say all of it's boring, right? But a lot of it is. I mean, you go through your LinkedIn feed, you go through a lot of the B2B world, and it's just so boring. Everything's just very templatized. Everything's just like these really, the terrible wordage of just like things you just don't understand. It's just really boring. And I think it's getting better. That's the cool thing. I'm definitely seeing that. My LinkedIn feed is just wildly different now. But before it was just like, and there's still people saying, this isn't Facebook and all that, but it's just a classic, people are trying to sell to businesses, not people. And it really resonated with me. And I just want to keep going with that, because even though it's getting better, it's still, a lot of people are not there yet.
No, and just for something to be, popular in the conversation doesn't mean it's actually industry wide, right? Sure. And it's, technology, it's an easy, I'm really operate in the tech world. And a lot of the tech is really interesting, but it's an entire industry, designed and built by the people who like technology. And the reality is technology is not just serving those people anymore, it's serving everyone. And so there's a lot of room for humanization and different ways to tell the same story. And I think we've all feeling what you described. I agree it's getting better. I'm seeing a lot of cool content just in general. The definition of what is professional, it has changed, I think, in a really healthy way. Are there any things, do you attribute it to anything, or when you say it used to be worse, kind of what are the trends you've seen over the last couple of years? What's your take on it?
Oddly enough, I think everyone going, remote for a while kind of helped, because everyone just, they didn't have to come in within a suit, or they were just people, more dogs. It just became very normal that like in a Zoom call, a dog would be popping up or a cat would be flying around, or like you'd hear babies crying and stuff like that. So everyone kind of started realizing people are people, right? And they're, it's all the same. And then, even like some of the, I forgot what video that was, but there was like that big like news tech CEO that walked up, he had the suit on, but then he just had regular shorts or swim trunks on. And I think there was more of that just happening. And then, people started posting like that content on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on whatever channel it was. And I think it just started kind of snowballing from there. I think people are just realizing people are people, and, people are funny, people are not funny. It's both ways, right? Like, it doesn't just have to be about not boring, but I think people just realize people are people, and they're selling to people. And I think that's where we're starting to see the change.
I think you're right. And I think more than a change or a shift, it's just now there's just a little room, right? There was no room for it before, and now there's just a little room for it. And, business is still getting done. Everybody's still trying to hit their goals. Businesses are still growing. I don't think it's actually taken away from anything there. I think it's just, rather than a shift, it's actually an addition of, hey, now we feel a little bit more comfortable being ourselves, still professionally, still appropriate, but you can show some personality. And yeah, I have a family, and that's actually not weird.
Exactly. No, exactly.
So I first saw you on LinkedIn. I mean, right. I really got aggressive on LinkedIn about 8 months ago. That's when I started using it every day and started seeing the value of getting the connections we've been getting through it. And you popped up on my feed with a really funny video. And I don't remember the first one it was, but the stuff that I love is just the stuff that is satirical of B2B in general, but also stuff I know you've personally experienced or maybe even part of your daily work life. I love the self-awareness and the ability to kind of laugh at the goofy parts of what we do. And I was just curious about how you got started with that first video, because I don't think I saw your first video. When did you get started, and when were you like, you know what, I'm going to make a video about, how stupid, MQLs are?
Yeah. So yes, kind of similar. I think I started posting about 9 months ago, regularly on LinkedIn, but it was mostly text posts. That was like, because I didn't want to be on video. It's just, I was scared, whatever it was. I had to get over that, but I started off, text posts, and they were, that was fine or whatever. But I started again, seeing my LinkedIn feed change. I saw more people on videos, and less, it wasn't just like the very highly edited videos. It was more of just like people doing skits or just talking through it, whatever it was. And I remember I knew I wanted to get on it, and I've wanted to do it for a while, but I was just scared. The first video I recorded, I recorded it like 3 weeks before I posted it, and I just recorded it, edited it, very light editing. And it took me, again, 3 weeks to post it. And I finally just said, all right, I'm doing this. And it was a terrible video. I think the premise was like that one marketer that always needs leads. And it was around, I think it was in January. So there was like a gift, and they had like here's, you can't get the gift, it's locked up, and here's, I need your business email, write it down, and all this stuff. It was very poorly edited. It's still on my LinkedIn. But it was just, I got like 16 likes and, a few comments, and all the comments were people I knew, right? It was people I worked with, but like they were enough. So they were going to be nice regardless, but they were enough to say, all right, I'm going to try this again. Second video, maybe like 18 likes or whatever it was. But I started seeing the engagement be much higher than it was with the text post. And, just naturally, I love going down rabbit holes. So I started going down the video rabbit hole, and I just started learning about everything. All the YouTube creators, started following all of them and learning about them. And it just kind of snowballed from there. So it was just, and now I'm just not going back. It's just way better. It's not to say I get more views from the post or anything like that. Some do, some, they hit better, but, on average, like from my text post to the video post, the views are way lower, but the engagement is so much higher. And just like the other qualitative stuff, DMs and people mentioning or anything like that, it's really changed it. So now I'm to the point where I just can't go back, and now I'm finding like all the other reasons why, which is like, people start to understand who you are, and like people saying like B2B doesn't have to be boring. Like that stuff's been very interesting. I attribute that mainly because of videos, because I can't do that in text. I can't explain as much, why it can't be boring in text. It's just not, it's really hard.
For sure. I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And moving 24 frames a second, or that's a lot of words. But no, people also get it. There's a level of commitment, right? They can see your commitment to a joke or an idea, and that means more than a well-crafted sentence, I think. When you first started on LinkedIn, was it always humorous? Did you come in like, hey, I'm going to come have fun on here, or did it start later?
Yeah. So I'm naturally humorous to a fault. I mean, there'll be some times like even just family situations where it's not, I shouldn't be making a joke, and I do. It's just, I've always grown up like that. But so some of my posts would have like humor to them. It's hard, again, it's hard in text posts. But no, that wasn't like the goal of it. It was, a lot of my text posts were database, just me writing, explaining things out. It was just, and I tried to be funny in some areas, but it's really hard in text posts. That's the problem. So I would say no, but naturally, just everything I do is I try to make it comedic. That's kind of where I just go to at all times.
No, I got you. I was scouring the blogs, best practices. I was like, I'm getting started on LinkedIn. What do I do? It's like, well, you got to teach your audience something and you got to do it. And that's what I was doing, and I've gained a lot of expertise about incentive programs over the last couple of years. And I was going to town trying to, teach people what I've learned, and low views, low engagement, low everything. And I was like, man, I just got to commit to this because it's going to be important for this year. And then one like Saturday morning or something, I saw a bunch of people talking about followers and all this and all that. And I realized I had 1,200 followers from literally just having a LinkedIn for 10 years and never touching it. So I made a dumb joke, like a text joke that was just like, want to learn how to get over 1,200 followers on LinkedIn, make an account in college and forget it exists or something like that. And that post like blew up. It got thousands and thousands of views and likes and reactions. I was like, okay. And I realized that my desire for what I wanted, B2B to be is actually how it is. And I was like trying to straddle this, how it is versus how I want it to be. But that was like my aha moment where the humor always plays more. And with this podcast, I do want to provide value for people, but at its core is, the teaching of humanizing, and humor has its place in what we do. And not only does it have its place, but it's effective, and we're all craving it so much. Like when I can make a stupid joke online and people around the world think it's funny, I mean, that's pretty powerful. And it was a big aha moment for me that, it's not just my preference. It's actually what people want.
It's true. And actually, I feel like I remember that post, which is interesting.
Oh,
I think I remember that one. But no, that's right. I mean, I don't know the science or anything behind it, but when I've heard, I guess, when people laugh, they like take in information more. So it's also like how you do it, right? If you're just cracking jokes, but you put it with something else, there's probably something really to it, like the edutainment part. I think that's where that's why it's so important, the edutainment part, and it's why it's so popular too.
So tell me, what is your favorite video that you've created? I've seen a lot of them. They kind of blur together in my mind, but do you have a favorite that you just think like, man, that was a banger. I'm proud of that one.
Yeah. It's a great question because it's an interesting question because there's some videos I've definitely posted where, and I think I forgot about them because they didn't do well. Even though I when I was making them and I was about to and I posted it, I was like, oh, this one's so good. Like I like this one a lot for some reason. They just didn't do well or whatever. I think it's less about the video specifically. I think there's a series I do, which is like the if B2B was X, if B2B was a restaurant, if it was a car salesman, whatever it was. I like doing those the best. Those are really fun for me. And I like that I can do it as a series. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I'm trying not to repeat myself in some of them, which is, where I'm trying to get to. But I think those are the most fun for me by far. They're just a lot of fun to make, and just people seem to like them too.
Definitely. Well, I think it holds up the mirror, right? And the things that you point out in those, it's like we're so guilty of it. And as at Incentive Pilot, like most of our deals come through partnerships. So naturally, our website has the get a demo button. There's not enough content for people to self-educate. Like we get a D- in demand gen. And so it's funny to see these videos and get the mirror held up. And there is neuroscience behind that powerful metaphor, right? It's like if you say, well, look at it in this context, people can actually feel and see the kind of the ridiculous standards that have been created by best practices built on top of best practices built on top of best practices. At some point things start to break down and it gets silly. So I think it's a great series, and it always makes me laugh, and it always makes me go, eesh, we got to up our demand gen game.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the metaphor thing is definitely big. And I've always tried to do metaphors, actually, most of them are joking, even if it's like text posts or something like that. But I think one of the reasons I like them the most is you should see the notes in my phone. I have a long list of ones you could do because as you're just out in the world, you just, like I saw a lemonade stand one time and I was like, oh, that's got to be it. If B2B is a lemonade stand, like there's just so many opportunities. And I think that's just, for me, is fun to find them all.
Definitely. No, I'm excited to see you produce more of those. Another trope, I don't know if it's more than one video, but like how the the outfits and the attitude change with your time in marketing, like that really cracks me up because like I think we've all seen that evolution. And I've been in the startup community here in Phoenix for like over a decade now, and it's really fun to watch your peers go from like scrappy guys starting out to someone who makes it big, and like see how their personality and looks change along with that success, and it's just something, not even as like a judgment against them. And I think it's just human nature, but it's interesting to see that evolution occur. And I could relate a lot to some of the things you put in those videos.
Well, yeah. And that's the funny thing is like, all those things for the most part, and some of them are exaggerations, don't get me wrong. For the most part, I lived through them, right? Like my shirts changed over the last
Oh yeah.
2.5 years, right? Like they just have my things I've done. Like one of them was like if a B2B was, or first 60 days in ABM, I bought the tech without the straight. Like I did all that stuff. So it's like, I always make this comment. It's funny because it's true, which is sad, which it's very true because a lot of things I try to make fun of, I did, which is very sad now, looking back on it.
I think it's really healthy though. I mean, it's like, it shows that you understand, and we all make mistakes. And, a big part of everything, every kind of growth is experimentation. Right. And, experiments they suck because most of them fail. And, that's just the nature of it. But like to have that healthy relationship with failure is the only way you can keep experimenting. And it's not until you see the power of a successful experiment that you understand how absolutely critical it is to a path of growth. I think that's professionally or with a business or personally, and so I think to me, anything that you're referencing as a experience of yourself is really just kind of that healthy relationship with experimentation. I mean, I've had so many stupid ideas over the years, and I definitely am not at a place where I'm going to make videos about them and share the money that I've wasted with some of my entrepreneurial endeavors.
Yeah, I'm at the point where it's just like, why not? I'm very open book. Surprisingly too, I'm very like introverted person naturally, but like I'm a very open book. Like I have nothing to hide, and I just learned that over time. Like other people, because a lot of people have going through the same thing, right? Every single, like whether it's personal or career, like everyone is either dealt with it or doing it or going to do it. It's always interesting to see everyone's having the same problems or really having the same problems. Everyone.
So jumping back real quick, when I asked you about your favorite video, you said, "Oh, like I thought this one was going to be good, didn't respond that well." I want to dig deeper on that because I've definitely had that feeling about posts on LinkedIn, other things on social. It's like, oh man, this is going to be a good one, and then it falls flat. Do you have any sense for what's going to work, what's not going to work, or is it a new experiment every time?
No, I have no idea. There's concepts, right? So like I've had like two that for me are like the bigger, they went viral for me, right? Both of them, I just kind of posted not understanding how to do, like not at all. Like I thought they were gonna be okay, but I did not think they were gonna do well. And I've also, everyone does, the repurpose content. One of them I've reposted, didn't do as well. So I don't know how to explain, the timing or whatever that is too. The other one I haven't reposted yet, but there's probably like, the answer is I don't know, because even when I was going to say concepts, the one that I haven't reposted yet is about like the B2B buying process. I've posted tons of other stuff around that. Doesn't do as well. There's a lot to it that we just can't understand. And let's be honest, if someone knew how to be viral every time, they would do it. They would make a course, they would sell it. There'd be a lot of people going viral, which would make it not viral or whatever. So it's like a lot of things you think you're going to hit, just don't. And a lot of things that you don't think you're going to hit, do. It's because, you're, at the end of the day, you're really not the audience. The audience is the audience. if that makes
The
sense.
audience is the audience. I like that. Well, I like, I'm with you. I don't think anyone knows. And it's funny. The last episode we recorded, another Tim Parkin was sharing that, nobody even, VPs at billion-dollar companies, no one knows what's going on. And that was a fun, transparent conversation to have with him. So the Tims are just shining light in the darkest corners here in these episodes, but that's interesting. Let me ask this, because it's hard to explain. I got going on LinkedIn because I wanted to meet more people, get more intros, develop more business for Incentive Pilot. It's been a wonderful way to do that, but also meet other people, also give back to people who my expertise can benefit. Like, it's a really wonderful professional space to be in. And I would say 90% of the time, that's how it feels and that's how it goes. Every now and then I post something and like it doesn't get the reaction I want, and I actually do feel it personally. And it's like I'm back in college in my Facebook days, and like it's not a healthy thing, And maybe it's probably not 10% of the time. It's probably like 2% of the time. But I was curious, as someone who has a lot more success with content and funny content, than I do, is there a personal element of it to you? Like, do you just enjoy it, or is there kind of a social media dark side to it?
There's a big social media dark side. No, do not get me wrong. There's a big dark side to it. Whether it's the post that you're going to do good and it doesn't, and it tanks. It happens with me all the time. I think the post I had today, I had like 23 likes, and like,
that's a great post for me, by the way. 23 likes.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. It's relative. But like with that, so for something like that, right? Like my mindset automatically goes, well, the audience is the audience. Like I didn't do well enough, right? And this is not always. Sometimes there's timing. There's a bunch of other stuff you can't really control as well. Sometimes just the audience is the audience. And now I just got to put out another one or whatever. Like I learned from that. Or how do I take that and just re-edit it? Add some other clips to it, because the good concept's good. In my mind, the concept's good. Also, it doesn't even matter, right? The 23 likes, you get a DM from it. That's all that matters. But there's a big dark side. There's like, man, like so I've gone on vacation a few times in the last few weeks, and you feel like you have to post. It's terrible. And I did post. Even though some of it was like kind of repurposed. So I that was an out, but you feel like you have to post, and maybe that's just me.
Obligation.
Yeah. You feel like an obligation. Like DMs, you feel like you have an obligation to respond to all of them. It takes time. Right. And also the LinkedIn DM, it's just a mess. That the whole thing is just a mess. It's really hard to keep track of anything, but like you feel like you have to respond to comments and messages, and maybe you should, right? But like, it takes a lot of time, and you kind of, either maybe it's just my personal struggle, but like you feel like you should do and you can't. And then, there's sometimes I'll go back when I have some free time maybe, and then I'll respond to a comment from like a month ago, because I feel bad. That's terrible. I should not be doing that, right? It just sits in my mind. There's some serious dark sides of it, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, it's like what, first world problems or whatever, but like, no, it takes a lot of time. You feel like you have the obligation, you're going to get the bad comments. I really don't care about those. That's completely fine with me. But some people get worse. I don't get a lot of bad comments, really. Some people get some bad ones. So I don't know how, I haven't experienced that yet. But there's always a dark side with everything.
Always a dark side with everything. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I know. I appreciate you sharing. I just think it's interesting because it's easy for me to say no to every other social media. It's just like, I realized early in my 20s, it was like not good for my mental health. I was like, I was like, man, this is not good. Like what someone else says or doesn't say on my profile, is affecting my day. So I was lucky enough to like kind of get out of that. But then with LinkedIn, obviously see the professional benefits. And so, but I also noticed that, hey, yeah, sometimes it is kind of like this old social media feeling. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I'm not sure people really talk about it. And LinkedIn is a weird world of its own. So it doesn't have all the same problems, but I feel like people don't really talk about it as a social media platform that could have the same issues.
Yeah, and for the most part, a lot of people on LinkedIn, they have the full-time jobs, right? Like this is a lot of times this is like, the side gig or whatever, or just, you're trying to do in your free time. That's tough, right? You have families. I don't have kids yet, right? Like, so there's parents doing this and I'm like, wow, like I can't applaud that more. Like that is hard. So I have extra free time, right? That I can do that. But yeah, I mean, people, full-time jobs, you have families, you have other things to do. And it's just another thing you have to, you don't have to do it, but once you do start doing treks, you don't want to lose the opportunity and stuff like that either. And obviously it is beneficial to your career and all that, but, it does, but it takes time. That's the big thing.
It does take time. Let's talk a little bit about business results. So we've been talking about the fun and how that's what people are craving even on LinkedIn, but what have been the results for you in your career, or for Directive?
Yeah. So it's very interesting. So I don't look at it as like tangible, like direct results, right? We do, I can attribute things back to like deals for Directive or something like that. Or like, part of deal, whatever you want to say. But I'm very convinced, like for my career, I mean, it's investing in the right, like posting content or creating content is much more valuable to me than if I went and like spent money on stocks or something like that, like by a long shot. I can tell you right now, like it's just so much more fruitful for me to do this. And it's not even like I'm still at the same job. It's not like I could attribute it like that, but like the opportunities you get, the people that reach out, the relationships you build, it's going to be very fruitful in the future. I just know it.
Definitely. And one of the things I, wasn't expecting, but I love is like, I really like helping people. And, for the majority of my career, I've really been pretty insulated, heads down, doing the UX work or working on product, and haven't really been out there. And one of the things that's so cool about being on LinkedIn and meeting so many people is that you meet a couple people, and then when someone asks you about something, you go, oh, actually I know the perfect person. And making those introductions is so much fun, because you can really help other people out a lot. And even if I can't capture that value financially at any given moment or quantify it, doesn't matter. It's still a pleasure to do. And it feels really good to be able to connect people with like-minded people where there's going to be a good relationship and value to be extracted. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's deals at Directive that are direct result, and some of it can't be tracked. But I know in my personal experience, just having the touch points on LinkedIn are the things that will take a deal over the finish line, or get someone into one of our public games where they try the game and then they buy the game, that sort of thing. So it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I should have mentioned this, like this kind of goes back to the videos that didn't hit or whatever. I've had videos where I talk about like, how to get started on TikTok, or, they're less funny. They're more like, tactical, or however education. And then you get the DM like, yeah, I'm going to start posting, or I'm going to start doing videos now. Like that stuff is very fruitful for me. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. Earlier in the episode, you mentioned, you didn't do video because you weren't comfortable. That's something that's come up a few times on this show. Because me personally, I never wanted to get on camera. I saw the high engagement that video was getting on LinkedIn, but I didn't feel comfortable getting in front of the camera, just hitting a record. How did you make that leap? And what can you share with people that are on the fence?
Yeah. It's so in hindsight, I'm going to say, just to take the leap, but it's harder when you don't, right? When you haven't taken the leap yet. The thing I always go back to is people really don't care. Like people don't care about the ums. They don't care about your background, how you look, fix up your hair, whatever you want to do. People really don't care though. That's the real thing. Or if they saw it and they cared for a little bit, they forget. That's why you can repurpose content. That's why you can post it again every 3 months, 6 months, because new people are seeing it, but people forget. The big thing is people really don't care. And if you, at least for LinkedIn, because the community is really good, they're really like nice and pretty good for the most part. If you just post a couple of videos, you will notice you'll get no bad comments and you'll get good comments, right? TikTok, Twitter might be a little different. You're gonna get some trolls and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's still gonna be good. And if it is, it's gonna be more about the content that they comment about, not about how you have the ums or how you talk or whatever that is. It's gonna be other stuff. I always because it's hard for me to talk over and over again, right? I always have the ums, I always say the likes, I always, stutter. No one cares. Seriously, no one really cares. So you have to get over that to actually keep going. And once you do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, whatever that cadence is for you, you're going to be fine after that. Because then you're just going to, just like anything, you're going to get better at it and you're just going to understand it doesn't really matter.
Yep, doesn't matter. No one cares. All wonderfully reassuring things to hear. And it's funny you say got the ums. I don't too much, but the first, looking back on some of the stuff I recorded, I say all the time. It's like my go-to thing. I really need you to back me up on this. But we all got those fillers. Yeah, I think the baby step I took was starting a podcast like this. So I'm not the only one on camera, it's the focus doesn't have to be on me. And I can be looking at you, not thinking about how, I look or might seem. But take that leap, rip off the Band-Aid. I think you'll find it's much easier than you thought. And like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So, but I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I know some people get caught up on the video quality and all that. Your phones are good enough these days. Actually, it's kind of funny. I'm trying to see if the camera's around here. I saw some traction. I bought the fancy camera. Still use my phone. The process is just easier.
It's so much easier. Yeah. And I'm with you. And I see opinions both. You don't need good equipment. You need really nice equipment. And I get it. I think some of it comes down, I think a lot of it comes down to preference. And then no matter what you do, there's always going to be the people with a quality fetish that it's unless it's this, it's not the real deal, but I think for pretty much everyone, it's kind of that 80-20. If it meets the bar of good enough, then you're there, and that doesn't take much. I do think a good microphone is worth the investment. Besides that, it's pretty you don't really need anything else. But I do want to talk about process. You said your first video took you 3 weeks to edit. When you get started with video, it feels like a ton of work. But once you do it more and more, you kind of develop your own systems. You understand what's going on. What does production take for you now for one of the videos you make these days?
Yeah. So the 3 weeks, that was actually to post it. The editing took maybe an hour, right?
Oh, okay.
It was just, should I post it? Should I not post it? That was more just getting in my head type of thing.
All right. Just the false start.
Yeah.
Okay.
The process. So it definitely is. The time allotted is usually 12 minutes to about 5 hours. It's quite the range, I know. But for some of the videos, if it's a talking head one, that usually takes, 12, 15 minutes tops. For some other ones, a little bit more edited, maybe 2 to 3 hours. The ones that take 5 hours, it's just because I was being very stubborn, or I was just being a perfectionist, and I had to re-record over and over again because I didn't like how something came out, or I always think of ideas while I'm doing it. So sometimes that just happens. So the process for me, I have so many ideas that I'm actually, my phone notes is probably just jam-packed with ideas. So that just comes out of nowhere, right? Or not when I say nowhere, it's when I'm doing, walking around or work, whatever it is. But as I start creating the content, I don't do a script just because when I did the script, it sounded weird. And a lot of times as I start doing it, I start thinking of new ideas, and then I just end up re-recording it or whatever it is. But it's all on my phone. It's all recorded there. And then I use CapCut. It's an app still on the phone where I edit the videos there. And when I'm done with it, and then, so CapCut, so basically record it, go to CapCut, edit it there. And then basically 99% of it's on my phone. And then I'll post it from there. Process can vary depending on what kind of video, but it's usually, the average is probably 2 to 3 hours, but there's some that take 5 hours just based on my perfectionism or something like that.
That's interesting. A couple hours and then your videos are, anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple minutes, something like that.
Yeah, I've really gotten them down to like, some of them have been long, but really it's around minute, probably like 45 seconds to minute 30. I always create them bigger and then condense them down. I have gotten better at where I record, it's a bigger video, but I can also make it 2 clips or a part 1 and 2, or take some of those clips and use them for other clips. So I've gotten good at that because for me, I do change the shirts a lot, hats and stuff, because I like the dual type of people. So I try to batch the person when I'm wearing that shirt or the vest, if it's the salesperson in the hat, I try to batch that recording with that one so I don't have to re-record that.
Keep changing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty pro, man. You're basically, it's like locations except for outfits, right? So you're
pretty much
filming at a location for a certain time. That's pretty smart. And it's interesting to hear that you kind of have an outline of what's going to go on, but it's improvised in terms of the presentation. And I think that makes a ton of sense because then your characters are so believable because it's you saying the way you would say it, or, and, I think that's probably a really good move. It's really interesting to hear. Is anyone else ever involved in the process, or is it just you?
So I'm trying to think. It's just me. I'm actually so it's weird. So my wife is a teacher, so she's home right now. I record less because I'm embarrassed to record around her. So it's really pretty much just me. I have, a tripod and all that. And I've set up things where I can I have something that has like wheels and I'll push it if I need to do some sort of motion. But yeah, it's all me, and that's again probably a thing in my head where I just don't like other people being around when I do it.
That's so funny, and it's hilarious. The irony is you're posting it online, so everyone's gonna see it. But I'm the exact same way. It could be anything. My wife's like, "Oh, we gotta call the washer people or whatever." It's like, "Oh, I'll take care of it." Pull out my phone, go to the other room. There's nothing secret going on. There's no reason for me to be embarrassed, but I just don't like people being around while I'm on the phone. It feels like I'm naked or something. I don't get what it is, but it's funny to hear you say that. And so I can totally relate. And then with the creative process, right? Like you are experimenting, you are doing multiple takes. And if you're self-conscious at all, then someone else is going to have an opinion about it, which my wife would. Yeah. I can see wanting to have to have a little privacy. So that's interesting. Trying to think. I think we covered, the things that I was personally curious about, seeing your content on LinkedIn. The other question I want to ask, I'm not sure if you can share, but do you have anything interesting or special planned for, the coming months, or do I just have to stay tuned and check out the videos?
Yeah. It's a great question. It's probably just more. And that's, I struggle with that, right? Like I'm trying to do too much sometimes. I've been playing around with other platforms, YouTube Shorts and all that stuff. I do think YouTube's a huge opportunity, but I go back and forth there, right? It's there's still so much opportunity on LinkedIn and TikTok for me, but there's also Instagram Reels and all that. So I'm trying to balance it. I've looked into maybe finding help with freelancers or something like that. But my process is it's in my head. The process is very unique to me. So it's hard for me to explain it to them. But that's just me in my head. It's just, probably more. just more things, just trying more.
More things. Cool. Well, I am going to ask one more question because you just used the word, struggle. And I think we talked a little bit about the dark side of social media, but what are some other struggles that go along with it? What's the hard part of having fun online?
So again, this is probably in my head, but like you do naturally, and I shouldn't do this, but you naturally compare yourself to other creators, right? There's some people that like you see their videos, and obviously I'm biased, but I'm like, mine are better, but they have way more engagement. What's going on here? There's obviously other things, right? They have different community and all that stuff. That's a really dark side to me because I don't like doing that. I don't like comparing myself to others, but naturally you do. And you see, their posts and maybe you don't think it's as good, but it's doing very well. You're excited for them. You comment and you say, that's awesome. You make your comments. 99% of me is like, oh, that's great for them. But then like 1% is like this dark, like, why, how is that even possible? That's like, again, it's in my head, but it's a very interesting thing to see. Very interesting.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think it goes with the creative personality or an artistic personality because, as most people that create have a very strong opinion about, what should be said and what's right and what's wrong. And it's because you have a voice, right? You have a voice you want to share. And so when there's a voice that, doesn't align, or a story that doesn't align with my strong opinion, yeah, it's easy to be judgmental. And like you said, it's a mix of emotions. But I hear what you're saying. And yeah, I think that's just goes along with the creation of any kind. Right. And that could be product and entrepreneurial too. Right. You look around the marketplace and you're like, how are they killing it? We did an integration and that thing is crazy bad or whatever, so no, it's interesting. I appreciate you sharing that. So are you ready for the torture piece of the episode where you get to play some tap to flap?
I am.
Awesome. So if you open up that link and share your screen, I'm going to get my timer started for a minute. And then when you get a game over, or if you get a game over, you can just click and it'll reset. And at the end of the minute, we'll automatically have your high score. So just keep clicking. And when you're ready, I'll start the timer.
All right, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3.
All righty. Oh, not bad. Almost got first pipe on the first try. Oh, you're a natural. Up to 1.
All right. First one's the hardest.
Definitely. Oh, there he goes.
This thing's a lot harder than you think.
It is.
How many clicks?
2. You doubled your score. 30 seconds left.
Drop the ball there. 30 seconds. Oh, too many clicks, man. See, if you gave me this like a couple months before, I could have.
Oh, look at you go. 6. Oh yeah. No, we want to make sure that you are as embarrassed as possible.
I spent way too much time training for this. This is why I can't have video games in the house.
Oh, nice. 6 again. Okay, that was it. So your high score is 6. You're not at the top, you're not at the bottom, but thank you for playing.
That's interesting. Can't believe I never did it.
Well, you got the link. Now you can get totally addicted like I am and like our team is. Addicted to tap to flap. So Tim, obviously people can find you on LinkedIn, on TikTok. If they want to hit you up, where's the best place to reach out?
Best place, probably LinkedIn. LinkedIn or TikTok, I'd probably say. LinkedIn, the DMs, I just get too many. I honestly, probably TikTok. That'd probably be the best place where I would respond. All
right. Hit them up on TikTok, or if you don't have it, hit up your local middle school, use someone's account and get in touch with Tim. Tim, thanks so much for coming on the show. I hope you come back in the future.
Yeah, thanks, man. This was great.